This fault is highly characterized by an upward expression of the shoulder girdle structures and muscles, and it's also characterized by an over-reliance on spinal extension as your primary means of stability. Hey everyone, Brandon and Kyle back again at the Kabuki Strength Lab, and today we're going to show you a common squat fault that we see across not only our own athlete base, but many lifters amongst the interwebs and even in our facility. This is the breathing and bracing fault, or the over-reliance on passive air intake as your primary means of spinal and trunk stability. Go and put the bar on your back, Kyle, and let's show them the fault really quick. I want to talk through it. We really need to preface this discussion with the theory of optimal muscle length tension. Now, our muscles can be passively lengthened, such as extending. If I extend my trunk, my abdominal musculature is now passively lengthened. That means they have more passive tension. However, the contractile ability of that musculature is far less. On the other side of it, I have passively shortened or chronically shortened musculature, and that musculature is just going to be on the entire time. So we have an ideal resting length tension relationship, and that resting length is where those muscles can produce the most amount of contractile ability and force in your movements. And what that looks like in a squat is a very stacked trunk position. It's the position that we refer to as ribcage over pelvis. And of course, your ribcage is always relatively over your pelvis, but we want to avoid this flaring and over-reliance on passive air intake as our primary means of stability. Show them the fault, Kyle. This fault is highly characterized by an upward expression of the shoulder girdle structures and muscles, and it's also characterized by an over-reliance on spinal extension as your primary means of stability. And whenever we talk about bracing, we always refer to it as a specific strategy, because we can all name exceptionally strong people who do it both ways. And what we want to do, though, is talk to the people who maybe aren't those outliers. They're not those world record holding powerlifters who have developed a very specific technique to fit their specific leverages over a long period of time. And that's, we're talking to the majority of people here, not those real outliers. So the fault is, breathe, Kyle. No. Do the fault. Yep. This is going to put Kyle into an extended position, which, if we remember our muscle length tension theory, is going to passively lengthen his abdominal musculature. And if you guys want to feel that as you're watching this video, extend your back as hard as you can and try and flex your abs. You'll find that you can't do it. What we want to do is maximize not only our abdominal musculature, but our obliques and lumbar musculature. And that happens two ways. One, it happens from the contractile ability of that musculature. And in order for that contractile ability to happen, they have to be balanced reasonably with that rib cage over pelvis, or that stacked position between ribs and pelvis. The other way it happens is through intra-abdominal pressure, and we always interchange bracing and IAP as kind of the same thing, but realistically they are two very different things. IAP is created by your diaphragm moving down in your abdominal cavity and reducing the available space between your rib cage and pelvis. Between IAP and bracing is how total trunk stability happens, and we can only get there, we can only move our diaphragm through that range of motion, and we can only have balance in that musculature if we have this neutral position in the squat. So the fault is over-reliance on air. We want to see you guys using more of your actual musculature to do it. We want to see you balanced between bracing and IAP and away from that big air and intrathoracic pressure as your primary means of stability. Anything to add, Coach Kyle?
Yep. So Brandon talked about, if you're watching this video at home, you know, sitting in your chair wherever you're sitting and extending your back and then trying to brace or tighten your abs really hard. One thing you'll notice, I don't suggest you do it with a bar on your back, but one thing you'll notice when you do so, it's probably going to pull you a little bit more into a neutral position. And just reference that with what our talk is on length tension relationship. That's probably your body telling you this is not an optimal position if you try to tighten this up and it's pulling you back forward. Now the difference being, if you try to do this with a barbell on your back, especially if it's loaded and it's somewhat heavy, you have this bar unracked, and you're not going to be able to feel as well what's going on. So again, a really great place to practice that is just sitting on the bench, a chair when you come to the gym, or at home when you're watching this video. We see a lot of athletes do a lot of diligent work. They're bracing, they're breathing, they unrack pretty well, they step back, and then they kind of forget what they're doing. And this is where you can watch your own barbell from the side. If you can't see this in your torso, as Brandon pointed out, I get ready to squat, I'm thinking about everything, the bar's heavy, and the last thing I do, it either stays extended up and out, or it crunches back down. Either way, we're losing pressure and losing that optimal position and intra-abdominal pressure.
Brandon and Kyle out.